Hi, I'm Rod Kight. Thanks for taking a few minutes to join us. We're here to introduce a new compliance resource that our firm has created and that we believe fills a real gap in the hemp industry. As most of you know, one of the hardest parts of operating in hemp right now is not just understanding the law in your own state, it's understanding how the law changes from state to state, product to product, and often month to month or even week to week. This is especially true if you manufacture, distribute, wholesale, sell online, or otherwise distribute hemp products into multiple states. For years, clients have asked us some version of the same question. Can I sell this hemp product in this state? And if so, under what conditions? The problem is that the answer is rarely simple. It depends on the product format. It depends on how the state defines hemp. It depends on whether the state regulates total THC or delta-9 THC, how it treats intoxicating cannabinoids, inhalables, beverages, gummies, topicals, flowers, and a dozen other things. And even when the law is relatively clear today, it may not be clear in 2 weeks. That's why we created this new, completely updated compliance resource that's built for real business use. It's comprehensive, it's practical, and most importantly, it's dynamic. We update the compliance resource in real time as the laws and regulations change. In other words, this is not a static chart or a one-time legal memo, and it's definitely not a marketing piece dressed up as legal work. It's a working compliance document created by lawyers who spend all of our time in this industry, tracking these issues in real time as they arise. It's designed to help businesses make decisions, what products to sell, where to sell them, how to prioritize markets, what issues to flag for legal review, and what risks to avoid before they become expensive mistakes. And because the spreadsheet is constantly updated, subscribers are not relying on stale information. That's a big part of the value. In this industry, outdated compliance information is often worse than no information at all. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amber Lengacher. Amber's done an enormous amount of the substantive legal work behind this resource and is the person primarily responsible for populating and maintaining the compliance content. So take it away, Amber.
Way to think about this resource is that it answers in a very organized and business usable way the questions that hemp operators ask every day, as Rod sort of alluded to. Can we sell gummies in this state? What about beverages, vapes, flour? What are the milligram limits? Are there minor cannabinoid restrictions, age gating requirements, licensing, packaging, all of these issues that we deal with on a daily basis. This spreadsheet is really built to answer those questions across all 50 states and across the major hemp product formats. It does that in a way that lets you move quickly between the states and view these issues at a really high level, but it also gives you enough detail to understand why the answer is what it is. As Rod alluded to, this resource is updated very quickly. I am the one who sort of lives in the spreadsheet and keeps it current. But I do just want to emphasize that, like Rod said, hemp laws are constantly changing. This resource is a time saver, and it's going to reduce your risk and improve your decision making. But this is a living compliance tool. It's not a static memo. And of course, the lawyers here at Kight Law are always here to help about specific projects and those details. But let's talk a little about why clients might need this resource. This resource is going to be especially useful for companies that are manufacturing products in multiple formats. They're shipping or distributing products into multiple states, working with national retailers, trying to prioritize expansion, trying to clean up an existing product line, or simply just trying to reduce your risk. It's also useful internally. Many clients use the resource as a decision-making tool across departments to really analyze the risk. Legal, compliance, sales, product development, operations, and leadership can all work from the same baseline resource, which is really helpful. And that matters because a lot of regulatory problems start when one part of the business is working from these outdated assumptions about compliance, as Rod mentioned. This resource is, it's going to be incredibly useful, and the level to which we've gone here, really makes this probably the most credible resource available in the industry to date. We built this from the ground up as a legal compliance resource. It is based on statutes, regulations, enforcement developments, agency positions, and just the practical realities of how these laws are being applied based on our experience in this industry. It is not just a summary of broad trends. We are tracking these developments from a wide variety of channels through which they may come. And we're able to do this because this is what we do every day. We're able to update the spreadsheet as the law changes in real time. I'm in this spreadsheet every day, potentially making updates as changes occur. And as you all know, that happens a lot. So that is really the key point. Whenever I talk with someone about a compliance platform like this, that is one of my first questions is like, who is in charge of updating this resource and how often does that happen? And very rarely is it happening in real time, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So we're really proud of that. Our clients are not just subscribing to a document, they are subscribing to an ongoing legal compliance resource. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Aaron Tucker, who really built the underlying architecture of the spreadsheet, and he can share screen and walk you through how it works in practice.
Thanks, Amber. As Amber said, I'm going to walk everyone through how to use this resource in real time. And we'll start by sharing my screen right now. So hopefully now you'll see the main page that you'll land on whenever you open up this resource. And the first thing that I want to draw your attention to is these 4 views on the spreadsheet. There is a tab called 50 State Database. That is sort of the main homepage. There's a tab called Map Views and a tab called Classic View and a tab called Instructions. For anybody that has this sheet open while I'm talking, I would highly recommend that you work through it with me as we do this, but also that you review through the instructions tab, because it will have in written form pretty much everything that I'm going to talk about today, and then even more advanced capabilities that go beyond the scope of this video. The good news is that though there are a lot of different topics we're going to cover today, it is likely that you don't need to use the entire workbook for your business use case. It is likely that there will be a couple of tabs that are most useful to you in your use case. These tabs are really just designed to address the multitude of different clients we have and the different levels of depth that they need to go into as they ask these very important business questions about product legality and market strategy. So we're going to begin with this 50 state database view. This is the core legal database. This is where the data is generally held. This is where you can find state-by-state compliance information on every state in the country. If you want the answers for a particular state, namely these simplified answers that we provided of regulated, unregulated, risk, and unlawful, this is the easiest place to navigate those answers. It provides them all in one place. And additionally, what I want to point out is if you want more detail on any particular answer, as you will see by clicking on or hovering over a particular cell with a simplified answer, you'll find some detail where we describe some of the things that went into that answer. So in this case of topicals and tinctures, we provide some of those topical and tincture specific potency restrictions, namely those things that make it regulated. Next, we're going to move on to the map view. The map view provides a very, very high-level overview of the legal status of each product. And depending on how quickly this video loaded for everybody else, you'll notice that it blinked out of existence for a moment. That's because these map views are constantly pulling the latest information from Amber's database. They are always kept up to date one-to-one with the information in the database. And so you'll find in these map views answers to those high-level questions, again, using those same 4 categories: regulated, risk, unregulated, and lawful, for various product types, both with intoxicating cannabinoids and with only non-intoxicating cannabinoids. As we scroll down, you'll see we have a number of different products: delta-8 HHC, THCA flower, e-commerce, of course for lawful products only, product registration and business licensing, And that's the things that we summarize at a high level on this map view. Once you have some answers from your map view, though, you're going to want to navigate back to the 50-state database to get some of that more detailed information that we have provided to help you better inform your decision. Next up, we're going to move to the classic view. Now, the classic view looks a lot like the spreadsheet that everybody knows and loves. It does have one key difference, however. The classic view becomes very, very valuable for clients that are wanting to take a deeper dive into the actual regulations themselves. If you scroll all the way to the right-hand side on the classic view, beginning in these columns AA and beyond, you will find hyperlinks to all of the various resources that went into our analysis. You'll find a description of our pending legislation, litigation, rulemaking, the things that you need to be aware of and to look out for on the horizon. You'll find the definition of hemp and you'll find the definition of hemp products. These things can really only be found on the classic view for most viewers. So if you need that information, be sure to check out the classic view, even if you're comfortable navigating the database. Now, this database has some additional functionality that go quite a bit above and beyond what you've probably seen before, and I want to briefly go through those. Namely, the one I want to talk about is the group views. So let's say that I'm a beverage company and that's all I really sell is beverages and all I really care about is the legal status of beverages. By selecting the group view beverages, I can get all of these same answers that I had before, but now organized where all of the states that have regulated beverages sales are at the top, so that all of the states that are most relevant to me are right there at the top and I don't have to scroll through all 50 states. Next down is the risk categories for beverage. Next down is unlawful. Next down is unregulated. And using this view, I can get kind of a better sense of the groups, much in the same way that I saw on the maps. These groups, of course, corresponding with the maps themselves. Another thing I can do if I'm using this spreadsheet as I should, which is to say that I'm checking in for the latest updates that Amber is doing in real time all the time, you can click on this group view called Latest Updates. In Latest Updates view, as you can see, it's all grouped by what has changed most recently. So as you can see, we've had quite a few changes just since yesterday. And even during this week, there have been quite a few changes. And then you can move down the list until you reach the date. That was the last day that you checked in on this. So those are some of the more advanced functionalities. But again, as I said, there are many, many, many more advanced functionalities. And that's what the instructions tab is all about. Be sure to check out that tab, take 5 minutes to review through it, look at all of the various functionalities that we offer before you begin using the sheet so that you can maximize your subscription and really make it work for you. In practice, I just want to provide an overview of how I might use this sheet. If I were a business that was interested primarily in one particular product category, I might begin by looking at my map view and getting a high-level overview of where things may be lawful in the various legal statuses. From there, I would move on to the 50-state database, where, as a beverage company, I'm going to select beverages, and I'll see all of these things in my 50-state database. I'll now click on the beverages status column and hover over it. And I will be able to see in each of these states where I have regulated beverages, the specific requirements that apply to my beverages. If I had more questions on how the status of products is defined or emerging legislation, I would scroll over to Alabama and I would go over here and I click on my resources. One thing that I want to note that's actually a pretty cool feature about this is even in the classic view, things are sortable. So simply go to the 50-state database view, select a different group. So in this case, I'm going to select latest updates. You'll notice that Minnesota is the top line of the sheet. And when we go over to classic view, Minnesota is once again the top line of the sheet. So that's how you can also customize classic view to work well for you. Once you're done looking at things in a group view, simply click this X to exit, or you can go back into group views and there's another exit right here. So a couple of quick best practices. First and foremost, this is really meant to be a decision support tool. It is not a substitute for specific legal advice. There is lots of information in here, but in having to condense everything down, the whole universe of hemp regulations, into really 4 simple selections, we've had to simplify things a bit. So it's very important that you look into some of the detail behind our decisions. And if you have any questions about a specific product or product category or specific business practice, please be sure to get in touch with one of our attorneys and we can walk through your specific situation. Finally, you should also pay attention to updates. As I noted, you should use that latest updates view to have the latest updates at the top, remembering when you last looked in. You should also use it proactively, right? It's much better to avoid a compliance headache by looking through the sheet and determining where your products are lawful and where your business practices are lawful than it is to discover a compliance headache. That's just sort of intuitive. So that's the basic walkthrough of how this sheet works, and I'll be handing it back to Rod.
Thanks, Aaron. What you've seen here is really the point of the whole project. Hemp compliance is complicated, fast-moving, and increasingly product-specific. Businesses need a resource that's reliable, practical, and current. And that's what our compliance resource is designed to be. If you're a current subscriber, we hope this video helps you get value from it right away. And if you're considering subscribing, we think this resource will save you some time, improve your decision-making, and help you to avoid mistakes that are otherwise avoidable. Thanks, Aaron. What you've seen here is really the point of the whole project. Hemp compliance is complicated, fast-moving, and increasingly product-specific. Businesses need a resource that's reliable, practical, and current. That is what our compliance resource is designed to be. If you're a current subscriber, we hope this video helps you to get value from it right away. If you're considering subscribing, we think this resource will save you time, improve your decision-making, and help you avoid compliance mistakes. Thanks for taking the time to watch. We appreciate it.